Hear me in the World Vibes Radio. Why they my use ya? Not take no talking. Be careful of some places where you walk. Some no know God, them no read Bible. Then we shoot you down with them rifle. Do not bring no guns, come to town. It's World Vibes, tell them leave that at home. Them better bring love, come to town. It's I say spread the joy around. World Vibes Radio. I'm not taking this, you know. Let's go and teach your youth them. Play some good music. Educate them.
Yo, check this out. This is Anthony Cruz, and you don't know it's the Diaspora Connection featuring Kabbalah for Jamaicans with Joshua. Keep it locked, my man. Blaze it up. Anthony Cruz.
Options. Hello baby, can you come over? Right now loneliness taking over. Me need you tonight, yeah me lover. Come warm me up under the cover. Make me rock till the lampshade turn over. Rub me chest, rest your head on my shoulder. And make me listen some Anita Baker. Make love till we wake up the neighbor. Girl, you're all I need, and I'm always missing you. Miss you, baby. Miss you. I need your tenderness. I can't resist you. Miss you, baby. Miss you. You love me up, squeeze me tight and close. Come here, make me brace you for me king size post. Me and you forever, girl. Now go divorce. We toast to long life, we are prosper the most. Love you to a voice when you call me name. Over and over, she scream again. In my arms, me want you to remain till the sunshine come out again. Girl, you're all I need, and I'm always missing you. Miss you, baby. Miss you. I need your tenderness. I can't resist you. Miss you, baby. Miss you.
Need someone who can hold me tight when I'm feeling all alone. Said I can't stand those lonely nights and always see an empty home. So baby girl, if you're my type, you don't wanna block it down. And I've been thinking more and more, and now I'm really sure I know now just what I need, what I want in my life. Someone that can give all my heart and my time. I'll keep on searching till I find my wife. Where's my wife? I will keep
chance just for wrap up in our world for a second. Run where Steve, Richard and Stefan never reckon she woulda get a love like mine. Now she gets it and she make the light shine. All the bad things she hear about me, me tell her me love her, she never doubt me yet. Me love her in every season, and she never forgive me a reason. When you're here, all I need is you. Nothing really matters when you're wrapped up in my arms. When you're here, all I need is you. All I need is one more minute wrapped up in your arms. When you're here, it's like a whole new world. My senses come alive when you're here.
Your girlfriends don't think I love you like I used to, and they don't seem to trust me like they used to. And from the other day you a move off time. The news them carry on full of your mind. You know me love you but me now move blind. Really wanna know, am I that man you fell for years ago? Ever give more coming and you less. Always interested in you me invest. This you need to know, that no matter what I do, and no matter what I say, your friends are gonna judge me anyway. Baby, tell me this, would you sleep with your friends? Would you be with your friends? And can your girlfriends give you what we give you when the rain of fall on the ends? Tell me this, would you be with your friends? Girl.
I Lego this one, yeah.
It's Jamaica. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Baby, I can't promise you no rain, can't promise you no pain. In life you'll lose as you gain. And I can't promise you no time, that I will never tell you a lie, or everything will be okay. But I'll be there for you to ease the pain, and I'll be your shelter each time it rains. And the only reason I'll tell a lie, it's 'cause I never wanna take away your smile. My baby, just call me and I'm at your door. I'll be there, believe me, I'm forever yours. My baby, just call me and I'm at your door. I'll be there, believe me, I'm forever yours. See you, boy, don't know what it is about you. Got me locked down, doing things that I never do. You know just how to turn my on. Give me so much love, it make me try. I know that you're not perfect, but I love you still. A future with you only I wanna build. We both have our expectations, though I make no promises, but I'll be there for you to ease the pain, yeah. And I'll be your shelter each time it rains. And the only reason I tell you a lie, it's 'cause I never wanna take away your smile. My baby, just call me and I'm at your door. I'll be there, believe me, I'm forever yours. My baby, just call me and I'm at your door. I'll be there, believe me, I'm forever yours, baby. Oh, my baby, my sweet baby, yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm yours, baby, I'm yours, yeah. And I'll be there for you to ease your pain, and I'll be your shelter each time it rains. And the only
girl, I'm gonna find you. Oh yeah, sure I'm gonna find you. Like a kiss from a rose. She's the one, heaven knows. Yes, I'm gonna find ya. Oh girl, sure I'm gonna find ya. Met the girl of my dreams in my dream. Wish I didn't wake up, cause now I gotta find her in reality. Yeah, she's the one with who I share everything. You know it's kinda messed up, cause now I gotta find her in reality. Yeah, I'm no longer dreaming, but I surely need her now. Kinda hurts when I think about it. God knows I love the way she made me feel. I was flying, now for her touch I'm crying. In my dream she was so close, but right now she is so far away. Met the girl of my dreams in my dream. Wish I didn't wake up, cause now I gotta find her in reality. Yeah, she's the one with who I share everything. You know it's kinda messed up, cause now I gotta find her in reality.
So we're miles apart, but still I save my heart for you. Yeah, me not deep when me lock it up for you. Yeah, can't wait to link you in my dreams. Cause the way on me miss you, I me well want to kiss you. I don't care if it's even in my sleep dreams. Even if it's just a wet dream. Even if it's just a wet dream. Miles apart, worlds in between. I'ma feel my want talk to you. I'm a bed, I'm a sheet, I'm a pillow at the bridge when me used to get across to you. With you in my dreams, and nothing is impossible. We touch, make love, and though I won't be waking up with you, it's nice to dream. Although we're miles apart, but still I save my heart for you. Dream. Me not get when me lock it up for you. Dream.
I'm holding firm, I not giving to them pressure. No matter how them a bang down my door, for I still I know. Holding firm, I not giving to them pressure. No matter how them a bang down my door, still I ignore. Oh, youths out there with ambition, they please let loose on a mission. Trying to gain a possession in your heart, trying to cloud up your vision. Works in high and low places, in different form, different shapes, yes. Come with smiling face, and your life them a try to erase. Holding firm, I not giving to them pressure. No matter how them a bang down my door, for I still I ignore. Holding firm, I not giving to them pressure. No matter how them a bang down my door, still I ignore.
Want to.
When them tell you say them rate you and not give you gun, you them no mean you no good. Why you fly out with weed when a book for read? Them no mean you no good. You when will you be wise? When will you realize? When will you know life over all things? Holding firm, I not giving to them pressure. No matter how them a bang down my door, but I still I ignore. Holding firm, I not giving to them pressure. No matter how them a bang down my door. Keep on
listening to Loyal Flames
Clean up no heart. Don't get caught by the shadows in the dark.
on the Focus Rhythm Viking Productions.
You're the little pitney, them the boy, them not the heart. Gunshots are bad, people are the dark. Can only place around heart. So you run again. Keep focused. It ain't no joke now.
Yes, good evening everyone and welcome to Diaspora Connection featuring Kabbalah for Jamaicans. Yes, we must keep focus. And there is Tidal in Tell Them Perform. Wicked. Big up to my brother Neil Curtis, President and CEO of Farm of Jamaica.
Always a boast for them all. When you see them a tell them a hustler. Me never hear them a hunt for a job. Me grandmother come from market. The whole of them have them eyes for our back. Me never want help to play the time, but all the money from it them more up. Remember me did tell them.
Why? Unfortunately, that sound like some of our people, yes? You know, a man wants to see you have your thing and just want to take it from you. It's unfortunate, but that's the way of the world today. And, you know, that's why we're here. We're here trying to give wisdom, share wisdom with the people so that their minds will change and their actions will change as well. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to Diaspora Connection featuring Kabbalah for Jamaicans. My name is Joshua. And today is Wednesday, August 7th. Where is the year going? 2024. So we're more than halfway through the year. How many people watching the Olympics? Well, I have both of my hands up because me love the Olympics. It's the greatest sports activity in the world. The biggest show. I love it. And so far, so many great stories. Jamaicans. I know a lot of people are upset about Noah Lyles and him winning the gold medal in the 100. But you know, for those of you who didn't run track, you know, I used to run track, so I know it's the torso that they look at there. So I know a lot of people are upset about that, and there's some controversy with Shelly and Fraser. But you know, we got the gold medal in the discus throw, men's discus, yeah. So big up and to the winner. And you know, we got a couple of individual gold medals as well. So Jamaica doing well, yeah. So big up to all of the Jamaican athletes and their coaches and their families. Congratulations, job well done. All right. So for those of you who are listening for the first time, welcome. You know, what we do here is we share the wisdom of Kabbalah. Kabbalah is the ancient Israelite wisdom that Moses received on Mount Sinai. And it is the science behind the religion of Judaism, which is the foundations of Christianity. And I've been a student of the Kabbalah Center for the last 16 years. And because of the benefits I have received in my life, and in the lives of those who I've seen who practice it, I had a desire to share it with our people. The teachings of Kabbalah, which are based on the Old Testament, is a science. And it is a science, it is a knowledge of the spiritual, the architecture of this spiritual system, and how we can navigate it while living in this world. This wisdom is being given to us so that we can improve our lives, and not just a little bit, but drastically. This is the wisdom that will take us out of the mud. If you find yourself wallowing in mud and you can't find to get your step and you can't seem to find your way out of chaos, yes, this is the wisdom, my friends. I'm telling you. You want to wonder why the Jew, the Israelite, is so successful anywhere in the world, and especially, Jamaica and anywhere in the world, right? Is because of their faith. And I don't mean faith as in belief. I mean in what they practice. Because faith in Kabbalah is not believing without seeing. Okay? It is a wisdom that will help us to see. Believe and then we will see. And it's not blind faith either. It's trust. The Hebrew word for faith is emunah. One of the Hebrew words is emunah, which means trust. Not belief, but trust. And how do you trust something? After you start using it and you realize it works. So you keep trusting it and you keep using it and you keep getting the benefit from it. That is what this is, friends. And we teach you some rituals. We teach you the mindsets that are advantageous to have and the mindsets that are not advantageous to have. We teach you some of the do's and the don'ts of the spiritual system, because this world is built on a framework of cause and effect. When you are the cause, you will receive an effect. And guess what? Your actions, all of your actions, okay, speech and your actions have a repercussion. That's physics. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So what we do in this world matters, my friends. It matters. 100%. It matters. What we say matters. What we do matters. And our lives are a direct result of our past actions. And since reincarnation is a fact, it is based upon past actions, past lifetimes as well. Yes, reincarnation is a fact. The soul never dies. Our body is the vehicle that we are given to work out our corrections, the corrections of the soul, the corrections that the soul, the holes that the soul created in a previous incarnation that has to be corrected. And that's why we come back. So everybody who is here physically has a correction to make. Whether it is a wrong action that they need to repair, or there is light that they need to reveal to the world. They have special gifts, special messages to reveal to the world. So that's why we're here. And for those of you who have been listening, who are returning, well, welcome back. I pray that you continue to hear things that you feel are beneficial, so that you can continue listening. Because what this wisdom is intended to do is to cause you to start vibrating at a higher frequency. When you start vibrating at a higher frequency, you start drawing higher things to yourself. More fulfillment, better health, better relationships, more abundance. All right? Having all of your needs met and the energy to help others to meet their needs. That's the ultimate. So, last night, we're here every Tuesday and Wednesday night from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. And we're here on Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, where we broadcast the 30-minute Zohar reading from the Kabbalah Center. So we're here 3 times a week. Sunday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, and Tuesday and Wednesday, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Okay? My number in the studio is country code +1 516 965 5700. Again, country code +1 516 965 5700. We have a website. It's Kabbalah for Jamaicans. How do you spell Kabbalah? Kabbalah, the number 4. And I know you know how to spell Jamaicans. Jamaica. Jamaica. KabbalahForJamaicans.com. Okay? You can find us on YouTube under the same name, Kabbalah number 4 Jamaicans, as well as on YouTube. We're on YouTube and Facebook Live right now. So share the link with your friends, and they will also get the benefit. So last night we had talked about the new moon of Leo, right? Because we're in the new moon of Leo right now. And I read some commentary some consciousness out of the Kabbalistic astrology book by Ralph Berg that you can get at the Kabbalah Center's website, or you can find it on Amazon. It's called Kabbalistic Astrology by Kabbalist Ralph Berg. And why is it important to talk about astrology? Well, because, you know, in Genesis chapter 1, you know, it tells us how the Creator created the stars and the, you know, the lights in the skies, okay, to be for signs. Well, astrology is a big part of our lives because we are impacted by the forces, the astrological forces that are coming at us from the cosmos. The 9 planets that are in our solar system, that orbit around our sun, affect us, and they affect us greatly. So it is unwise to leave out that wisdom. Christianity teaches us not to go near it, and that's unfortunate, okay, because you are not able to utilize the wisdom from the universe to help you in your life. And again, that's why wisdom is given to us, to help us in our lives. But if you're going to leave out critical information, then how do you expect to be successful? So that's what you'll learn here. You'll learn about the cosmic openings. Anytime there is a holiday, like a new moon, or any of the holidays, you know, Passover, Sukkot, Yom Kippur, right, all of those holidays, we share with you the energy that is available. If there's a particular ritual that you should do to connect to the energy, because nothing is awakened above in the upper worlds, you cannot draw any energy until you perform an action here in the physical world that corresponds to that action in the upper world. Nothing is awakened above until it is awakened below. You may have heard the phrase, as above, so below, right? Albeit, it'll be very concealed here. Genesis 1 said that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Okay, so that's how it started. And God said, let there be light. Really and truly, he was speaking to us. He was speaking to us because we are the ones that need to let the light in. We are the ones that have to declare what is light, what is right actions. The Creator laid that out for us in the Torah. And as a student, we take that up and then we show the world. Right? We live it for ourselves and then we show the world. And hopefully the world will be encouraged when they see how well we are living and they say, hey, I want to be like that. So keep listening, friends. Keep listening. And there are 2 things that I would recommend if what you're hearing makes sense to you, some sense to you, and you want to try something new in your life. There are 2 things I recommend you do immediately. One of them is start to align your life so that you can listen to the Torah reading on Saturday, which is Shabbat. Why is it important to listen to the Torah reading? Because the Torah is the tree of life. The 5 books of Moses that are in the Old Testament, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, are considered the Torah. And in the Torah is everything that man needs to live a successful life. A life of abundance, a life of good health, good relationships, and success. All right? However, if you don't apply yourself to it, then you won't receive its benefits. The Creator said, choose you whom this day who you shall serve. Either you're going to serve the negative side and receive that reward, or you're going to serve the light, and then you're going to receive that reward. And what we're doing is, doing our best to expose this wisdom to people. Our people. Because our country is in a state, friends. A very bad state. And it is our belief that it is through wisdom, the wisdom of Kabbalah, that helps mankind understand the nature of the spiritual system and how to navigate around the dark force known as the Satan. Most people call him the devil. There is no devil in Kabbalah. There's no word for devil or diablo as Spanish, but it is the opponent. And his name is the Satan. And we are, when you start, it's funny because when I started studying, after a few years, I began to realize that, wow, when you read the English of the prayers, right, a lot of them are asking for protection. Protection from evil eye, protection from our ego, right? Protection from evil. And I began to realize, I said, wow, I really started to develop a healthy fear for Satan. Why? Because when you learn what he's able to do, really what he's able to do, then you realize what the battle is and who the battle is against. So I think it is imperative that you keep listening, because believe me, you're going to hear things that are going to be beneficial to you. So again, what I recommend is that you start aligning your life on a Saturday to start hearing the Torah reading, because we stream it live for you. Again, if you want to give us a call, send us a text, let us know that you're interested. We can forward you the link. We can forward you the link so that you can start listening on a Saturday. Let's see. All right, so let me put on the Zoom here because it looks like who's out there. Okay, no one is, not right now. There was, okay, good. So yeah, it's imperative to keep listening, because again, listen to the Torah reading on Saturday. Between the hours of 11 and 12:30 p.m. 11 a.m. 12:30 p.m. Eastern, right? If you only have time to listen to the Torah reading because you're busy throughout the day, it's okay. Just make sure you listen to the Torah reading. All right? The Torah reading is, you're connecting to the energy of the Torah. The energy is encapsulated in the letters of the stories. So if you want energy to help you in this world, that's what you have to do. You have to listen to the Torah reading and download that energy, absorb that energy. So as a student of Kabbalah, what we do is we prepare for that listening on Saturday. How do we prepare? By studying the Zohar portion associated with the upcoming Torah portion. The Zohar, which you can find online, zohar.com, okay, zohar.com, has the Aramaic. Aramaic is a derivative of Hebrew, same Hebrew, 22 Hebrew letters, written slightly different. And you can see the Aramaic and the English online at zohar.com. All right. And then you have the Kabbalah Center site. That's Kabbalah.com, KABBALAH.com. So that's about. And then, in addition to listening to the Torah reading on Saturday, I recommend that you start listening to Zohar readings. The Kabbalah Center has a 24/6, or I should say 23/6, 23 hours a day, 6 days a week, and it is this is called the Zohar channel. And for 30-minute time slots, there's someone reading the Zohar, reading a portion of the Zohar, and we're also reading it in English or maybe Spanish, depending on who's leading the call. Or sometimes when I read it, when I host the call, and if there's someone, like last night, there was a Spanish-speaking person, and he has a Spanish Zohar, so we had him read the Zohar, that paragraph or that verse in Spanish, and then we had somebody follow up and read it in English. So we had the Aramaic, we had the Spanish, and then we had the English. So it's fun, but even more important than being fun, it's transformative, because the words of the Zohar transform us from the inside out. So the more Zohar you are hearing, the greater your opportunity for change. You notice I said the greater opportunity for change, because it's not automatic. But without it, it's difficult to change. I'll tell you that much. Very difficult to change without the assistance from the Creator. That's why He admonishes us to deal with the Torah on a daily basis. Right? Deal with the Torah on a daily basis. Because it's beneficial to us. It keeps you vibrating at a high frequency. I'm telling you. So, and again, I had mentioned last night that last week had finished the book of Numbers, and this Saturday we're going to be reading starting the 5th book of Moses, Deuteronomy. And I'm going to play 2 lectures tonight, one from Michael Berg and one from his mother Karen, on the portion of Devarim, which is Deuteronomy in Hebrew. Devarim is the first portion in the book. I'm actually not sure. When I say portions, it means these are the sections. The prophet and priest Ezra, who has a book named after him, a Bible book named after him. He was the one that was given divine inspiration to divide up the 5 books of Moses into digestible portions that we could read every week in the temple. Ezra is the one responsible for that. And so what we do is we study the Zohar portion of the week in preparation to hear the Torah reading on Saturday. Right? Because by studying the Zohar portion, by studying the commentary on this upcoming section or upcoming verses in the Old Testament, we are able to connect to the energy We're able to connect to the energy. And that's what's most important. Because without energy, we're nothing. Right? Why do we eat? To get energy. So that we can do. So that we can perform. Well, so it is with wisdom, my friends. If you lack wisdom, you will lack right actions. And when you lack right actions, chaos comes. Okay? Chaos comes. And again, the reason why the Jew is so powerful all around the world is because of what he follows, to the best of his ability. All right? So yeah. So as I mentioned, right, we're starting the book of Deuteronomy, which is the 5th book of Moses. And I'm going to read some of the commentary from this, and then we're going to go into those lectures, okay? It's now 9:44 Eastern, p.m. Eastern. Oh, I'm in New York, by the way. Okay. So I am reading from the Kabbalistic Bible for the 5th book of Moses, right? Deuteronomy. And I'm going to read the introduction. Okay, let me read the introduction. And what I'm reading from, you can get also from the Kabbalah Center, Kabbalah.com/store. They're $25 a book. You can also get it for your iPad. So if you don't want the physical book, even though I recommend you getting the physical book, yeah, it's just better to have a physical copy. Okay. All right, this is the introduction to the 5th book of Moses. We often hear people say, "If I knew then what I know now." In the book of Deuteronomy, which is Devarim in Hebrew, the Bible offers us a second chance to understand and know, because everything that happened before is presented here again. Deuteronomy repeats the story of the Exodus from Egypt, which, as we shall see, is the essential story of our own lives. But Deuteronomy is more than just repetition of in a conventional sense. It gives us a chance to relive past events with a new consciousness. We can do this by learning to live differently, because if we're honest with ourselves, we know we're constantly making the same mistakes today as we did in the past. All right. What does Deuteronomy's second chance really mean for us? According to Kabbalah, if we don't change our consciousness or the way we view life, then our lives cannot change for the better. Okay? Our lives would not be able to change for the better if we do not. It says Deuteronomy gives us the energy to change our experience of life by changing our consciousness. There it is. By connecting with this book of the Bible, we can achieve 3 specific and distinct forms of energy to help us make that very difficult change. The energy to do our spiritual work, 1. The energy of spiritual excitement. Right? Spiritual excitement. And the energy of spiritual perseverance. The purpose and power of Deuteronomy is to infuse these 3 seemingly different forms of the Creator's light into our lives, to give us the wisdom and power to rescript our own life movie. Kabbalah teaches that spiritual work is not called work for nothing. It is not easy because it isn't meant to be easy. Spiritual work is a process of growth, of moving beyond our boundaries and our comfort zones. It means going against our innate reactive tendencies and consciously choosing the proactive alternative. It's refusing to succumb to the temptations of the role of victim and taking full responsibility for what goes on in our lives. Wow. Taking full responsibility. Who does that? The power of excitement we receive from the book of Deuteronomy is something different from what we find at movies or sports events. This kind of excitement isn't the light of a flashbulb that illuminates everything for a split second and then leaves us in darkness. Whoa. It is not like a television show who brings up that inevitable question, what else is on? Spiritual excitement is closer to an experience in which time seems to speed up or disappear for you. Okay. All right, next paragraph. In the same way, the energy of perseverance that we gain from Deuteronomy, from reading Deuteronomy, is not like the perseverance required to clean the entire house or to change the oil in the car. It's actually a form of energy characterized by the inexhaustible quality. Because it powers us towards the light. If a person living in poverty suddenly got word of $1 million waiting for him in a bank across town, he'd find a way to get there. Okay. Okay. Even those examples of perseverance represent only a tiny fraction of the energy we gain when our goal is a personal and intimate connection with the light. So you see, by me encouraging you to listen to the Torah reading, that's how you connect to the light. By you listening to the Zohar calls, that's how you connect to the light. Every connection chips away at the covering of our hearts and our mind. Every time we are engaged the Torah. All right? Every time we engage it, we are infused with energy. And when most people are scrambling because of things getting dread and dreader, we're living in a very serious world, friends. And, I don't live in fear, okay, of anyone or any man, but I am fearful of the Creator because, and not so much fearful of the Creator. I am fearful of the Creator. We need to be. But because reincarnation is a fact, and because I know that I've been here before, and I wouldn't be here now unless I had a correction to make. I need to sometimes sit back and watch things unfold. Yeah. Watching things unfold. That's where I am right now. Yeah. In preparation for Rosh Hashanah a few weeks away. Yeah. So, let me continue with Deuteronomy. It says here, many of the events of Deuteronomy take place in the same desert locations as in the previous 4 books of the Bible. Just as many of the events of our lives involve the same sorts of actions and responsibilities from one year to the next. But remember this, with the new consciousness that Deuteronomy brings us, and the infusion of light that accompanies that consciousness, we can change everything. Let me repeat that. We can change everything. Okay. We can revolutionize our lives not just by changing our jobs, increasing our income, or improving anything else in the physical realm, but by remaking ourselves at the deepest seed level of our being. That's what transformation really means, and the power to make it happen awaits in these pages. The Zohar tells us the following about the Bible. Rabbi Shimon, so this is actually in the Zohar itself, okay? Rabbi Shimon opened the discussion by quoting, in accordance with what is written. Then Hezekiah, which was king of Judah at the time, turned his face to the wall. Okay. Turned his face to the wall and prayed to God. Yeah. This is in Isaiah chapter 38, verse 2. Come and see how beautiful the might of the Torah is, and how high it rises above all. Because whoever conducts his life according to the Torah has no fear of those above or below. The Torah teaches every person how to walk a straight path. You hear that? That's the benefit of the Torah. It gives advice on how to repent and to return to one's master. Let's see here. Okay. All right. It says here. Okay. Because whoever conducts his life according to the Torah has no fear of those above or below, and mishaps or illnesses of this world do not concern him. Through the Torah, he is attached to the tree of life and learns from it every day. The Torah teaches every person how to walk a straight path. It gives advice how to repent and return to one's master, to cancel the decree against him. Okay. Because even though a decree has been given not to cancel the decree against him, it shall nevertheless be cancelled and not be applied to him anymore in this world. For this purpose, man should occupy himself in the study of Torah daily. Okay. As it is written. Okay, it says here. So for this purpose, man should occupy himself in the study of the Torah day and night, for it should always be in his mind. As it is written, shall you as it is written, you shall meditate therein day and night. Joshua chapter 1 verse 8. So if his mind drifts away from the Torah, or he abandons it, it is as though he he abandons the tree of life. It says here, if he drifts away from the Torah, it's as though he abandons the tree of life, and you don't want to do that. That's in the Zohar in the prologue, verse 180 to 181. Alright, so that's the introduction to the book of Deuteronomy. Let me say it by its rightful term, devarim, and you need to start to get used to listening to those words as well, because I know this is all new material, okay? And I'm going to give you the benefit of my studying for the last 16 years, yes. But understand this: you're not going to get it overnight, so you need to keep listening. Keep listening, friends. I'm telling you, keep listening, and you'll get it. And the moment you start listening to the Torah reading on Saturdays, on Shabbat, you're going to start to see your life change. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. And if you start incorporating listening to the Zohar, and for those of you who, again, you're in Jamaica, we need people to just, connect to the Zoom. Even if you don't read, just listen. Just leave your phone or your device open, right? And so that the vibrations of our words are going into the universe, right? So again, my number is country code +1 516 965 5700. Again, country code +1 516 965 5700. Right? Okay. So this is the first time that we're actually mentioning the Torah reading before Shabbat. Right? So I'm starting to change things up, because this is truly the way that we should be studying. I should be giving you the information beforehand, so that maybe you'll be encouraged to listen to the Torah reading. Right? So what we're going to do is on Tuesday night, we'll talk about the lecture that happened on the Shabbat previously on Saturday, and then on the Wednesday we'll talk about the upcoming portion, right? That's how we'll start to set things up. And of course, Tuesday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, we're hearing Zohar being read. Yeah. So like I said, so I have two lectures that I would like to play. One of them is from Karen Berg, and I think I'll play that one first. Okay, this one is called Choosing Spiritual Work.
We're here to discuss a very interesting and important portion for many reasons. The first reason is it is the first part of the 5th book. And it is said and known that the 5th book of Moses was actually written by Moses. And it's a compilation of all the things that happened, the blessings that he chooses to give him through this dialogue. And the interesting thing is, he starts the dialogue, he starts this long recitation that starts on the first day of the month of Shvat, which is in Aquarius, and ends on Zayin Adar, 37 days. This is the amount of time that this entire thing continues. It's because Moses was told that he was about to leave the world. And he went to the people and he started to explain to them of all the things, almost like a person that before they leave this world, they're given an insight into what had happened in their life. And they're shown the pitfalls, the disadvantages, the places that they had gone, and the things they could have done. So too, Moses says to the Israelites, and you created the golden calf, and you needed spies, and you needed all these things, and every step of the way you doubted me. Every step of the way I tried to hold you. I placed you on eagle's wings, and I tried as I could to direct you and to lead you. And now he understands that he's no longer going to be there, but the light that would follow them would not be the strength that Moses had had. But Moses in himself understood, by the way, that the immortalness of the human, the soul, that spark of us that is divine in its source, never leaves. And he always said, that he would be there And he was. He was in Rabbi Shimon, he was in the Ari, he was in Rabbi Ashlag. He was constantly giving a part of himself in the times to come. But what do we learn? It's called, by the way, Shabbat Chazon, the Shabbat of vision. But if you read it, he's not talking about vision. He's talking about the negative things that had happened. So first one would ask a question like, how come there was a man who seriously hated the Israelites? His name was Balak. And he was given the job of blessing the Israelites. And then, of course, there was Moses, who was the leader. He was like having these so multiple of thousands and millions of children, but yet his love was so great. But he was given the job of showing their difficulties, the non-reality of their life. Wouldn't it sound more sensible that the person who truly disliked these people would curse them? And those that love them would bless them, because we know in an individual, if you like somebody, you know that they have multiple faults. You see it, you know it, you recognize it. But what? It's not so bad. You know, it can be done over by something else. When you love somebody, when you see something in that person that you admire, you overlook the negative. And the reverse is true. Somebody you dislike, everything they do, irregardless, is not right. So you always see that part. Unfortunately, that's not the soul that sees that. That's this body that sees those faults. So one would understand that it would be more reasonable for Balak to curse the Israelites and Moses to bless them. And the reason that it didn't occur in that fashion was because had a person who dislikes you, finds fault with you, logically, we don't even take it into interest, because he doesn't like me anyway. He will never find the things that I do that are right. He will constantly look and pick at my faults. And so too it was with the Israelites. But of course, when a criticism comes from a person that loves you, you're generally more apt to accept it, because you know that he's coming from a place that he's trying to build you. He's trying to create something in you that is totally different. And so we see that Moses is the one who does the criticism. Now, also, because it's the fifth book, of the book of Malchut, of kingdom, it's called the book of what are we going to do with it? What is it about? Well, it talks about many things. It talks about all kinds of things that the Israelites had done to lower their level of spiritual enhancement. And because of that, I wanted to discuss the idea, the whole concept, the codification of the Torah. The Torah is something, the codes of the Torah is something that we were given to live by, but not as a code that is a demanding code, and this is the way it is, in a square verse that nothing can be changed. Because we know, for instance, that even when the days of the week were created, even when the first day was created, and the second time, when the sun was created, the Creator said, listen, everything was created with what we call a t'nai. It was created with a way to change it. And so the sun, when it was created, was told, listen, you have been created to be the guard of the day. But remember, there will be a time when you go against your nature, when you will actually stand in your place. Actually, 3 times in the history it is said that that happened. Also, when he divided the men and the women, or the fish of the sea. In every aspect, in where there was a creation, it was also created with the ability to change its modality, to change its nature. Also, we know that even in the laws and the rules of our code of life, there's one thing that supersedes anything else that we might learn, and that is the aspect of human life, dignity, empathy, and kindness. That in that regard, for instance, it said, you're not supposed to lie, obviously. It's one of the things. Except when it comes to creating peace between people. When you meet somebody in the street and you say to them, boy, you are ugly and that dress don't fit you. Not many people are really happy. Nice to see you too, you know. But what does it say? If somebody asks a question, you say, oh, I think it's fine, period. You're allowed to tell a little white lie in order to create peace, especially between a man and his woman or a partnership. Any place where you can make peace out of a relationship is far better than to make negativity. And so too it is with every codification, even the laws of the precepts of the Shabbat, important. But when it comes to somebody else that needs your help, it is equally important, or perhaps even far more important. And how do we know that? Well, there's no Zohar in this week's particular portion. But what there is a piece that comes from another part of the Zohar. It's called Balak, the story of this man I told you about, this man that was evil. I mean, he was the one who told Pharaoh, he was one of the consultants to Pharaoh, and he was the one that said to destroy the people entirely. But here, in this particular portion of Zohar, we read about a small child by the name of the Yenuka, who was at 6 years old. What does it say? It says that there were two students of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai who came to the house of another great sage called the Hamuna Saba, who was the father of this young child. But the child at 6 was gifted with great sight. And by the way, even though we know that he was 6 and he was tremendously spiritually gifted, we should understand that most children are gifted. And the reason that our children don't increase in that gift as they grow older is because to our natures, we inhibit it. Because sometimes when children say to us, and I'm sure many of you have children who've had playmates that you don't exactly see and have things around them, children have that capacity, much more than we as adults do, to be able to feel and see things that we do not. Anyhow, the Yenuka, this young child, sees these two righteous souls, and he goes to his mom and he says, I don't want to sit with them and I don't want to shake their hands because I see that they haven't completed their spiritual tools. They haven't done the proper spiritual proportion for their day that I can present myself to them. And these two men, instead of being upset with this little child, were in wonderment because they wanted to know how he could possibly see that they had not, for instance, prayed that day. They had not done anything to put their spiritual channels in place to be a part and to partake of the rest of the day's spiritual journey. But then they sat down and explained, because they had been busy with preparing somebody who died and had nobody to take care of them, had no family, had no friends, and that they chose that as a particular thing to do that they viewed as more important even than their own prayers, which is obviously true in all things. The most important part of our spiritual journey is, yes, to learn, to understand, to become wiser. But if that doesn't correlate into our relationship between me and the rest of the people, if I don't walk the walk, then all my learning and all my comprehension is to naught. Because there's nothing that we'll ever learn in any part of our studies that is more important than humanity to humanity, than empathy and kindness. And if we decide that we have more greater goals, then we are not indeed the spiritual human being, because the whole idea and the whole teachings that Moses, aside from this particular portion, he will give extra precepts that he hadn't given before. But above and beyond what he's saying is that when you doubted, when you came together as a band, when you decided that if I went early in the morning to the tabernacle, oh, maybe he must have been fighting with his family, that's why he comes early. Or if I come late, then it was because I had other things to do that were more important than my prayers. There was always something, and if you think about it, if we think about it as a group, usually when we look at another human being, most of the time we find fault. Most of the time we find fault. And this is exactly what Moses was trying to teach the Israelites. And by the way, as he was teaching, the Creator made it divinely capable of being translated into the 70 languages of the world, so that not only would it be given to the Israelites, but it would be there for all time, for all the nations of the world, so that one would understand that the ideas of humanity, the ideas of kindnesses, the ideas of certainty, the idea that we don't die, that our soul is everlasting, and it simply evolves from the place that it sits today into another place. The only things we worry about is what Moses has said. Had you been part of a people, of a thing, where you didn't concentrate on helping other people. And it doesn't mean that one needs to spend their entire life assisting others, but it does mean that when that opportunity comes, we're not too tired, we're not de-energized, we don't have the ability. When we see the opportunity to give to somebody else in a way that we're capable of doing it and we don't, then every single action we have done that day on the positive front doesn't count. It's washed away. And that's why it is said that when you pray, first you pray for somebody else. When you look only to yourself and into yourself, the eventualities is you have nothing. And you know why sometimes, and this is what Moses told them, he says, the idea was that the Creator wanted to take you directly out of Egypt into Israel. How long would that trip take? 5 days, a week, 2 weeks? That's all it would take. But you know what happened? I got me involved. You know what happened? I decided that I'm bigger than that. I'm better than that. I have to do this. I have to gain. I have to become. And I didn't hear that soul inside saying, this is what I need. This is where I have to get to. Think about it. We do it all the time. All of us do it all the time. There's something there, but we screw it up because we decide on another way, on another action that makes it difficult for us to see that light. Moses says, you wanted spies. You didn't agree. You didn't think the land was good enough for you. So I sent spies. But it wasn't the idea of Moses nor the light to make us go through all the negative things that happen in our lives. It's only because we decide. And how do we decide? Because we don't understand that that immortality that exists within every single one of us is the determining point of how we live our life. And yes, we should enhance our wealth and enhance our power and enhance our place. And we should do all those things, and there isn't anything wrong with that. The question is, what happens on the way? Do we step over people to get there? Do we hurt and destroy? And then comes around 40 years later and we find ourselves with something that we don't understand and we say, why did we get there? That's what Moses was telling these people. Because no, even with all the reprimanding that he's doing, this generation wasn't the generation that did it. That generation had died in the wilderness. These are not those people. This is a whole new group that came from the children. But what he was saying, the message he was giving, was all of us fail. All of us make mistakes. All of us are selfish. There is no question. The question is, do we see it? Do we try to change it? Do we alter it? So that we don't need spies to know that that part of us that needs to grow has to also be included in all the things that we do. Sometimes we chum up to power. We chum up to wealth. We chum up to a place. We kind of rub shoulders with people because it makes us feel better, because our own insecurity is involved with that. What happens if we understand that the godliness that I was given could never be given to somebody else? Would I then be able to be the human being I choose to be if I truly understood that? This is what Moses was giving the Israelites. That even though we're all different, even though we have our own desires to receive, nonetheless, we have the capacity, and especially at this time, because it is the Shabbat, and it's always the Shabbat, it's always the portion before the 9th day of Av, which is the most negative day of the year. And it's so interesting to us because the most negative time of the entire year comes in the month above, which is controlled by the sun, which is the most powerful force that this earth has. It is the thing that binds, draws the earth together, because you know that the planet Earth itself veers off course. It wants to go away. And the strength of the sun, the energy of the sun, the pull of the sun, is what allows us to remain in orbit. The pull of the sun, which allows us, especially in this time, through the conversion of our negativity, and all of us have it, for that moment in time to look for the positive things that we can afford to do and help another human being, allows us that. And together, on today, on Tisha B'Av, in the afternoon, with all that tremendous negativity we understand, we're told that that will be the time of the birth of the Messiah. And why? Because only when you get out of the mud, only when you stand on your own, only when you understand that it's up to you what you choose to do, and it isn't what someone tells you. If I stand here and I tell you those things and I act differently as a human being, don't believe me. When you learn and you become part of a place where they learn spirituality, if it doesn't alter your nature to become more in tune, to be more intuitive, to be more in touch, then it's two problems. One may be with the teacher and the other might be one person likes to hear sometimes what they want to hear and not choose to do the work. Second part of today, it's the most beautiful part, I think, is there will be a bar mitzvah. And we know, we've said that a bar mitzvah, a child, a man, becomes 13, and it means that now he's ready to be responsible for himself. And what does that mean? Well, first of all, a child is a person, is an entity that basically cares about himself. A little child wants to be cuddled, wants to be held, wants to be changed. It needs and needs and needs. At the age of 13, there's another part of that soul that's given to that child. It's called the ability to share. And why? Because 13 is also the numerical value of 1, of echad. But it's also another numerical value. It's the numerical value of love. 13, hava, is also love. And the only way a person can love another human being is when they understand that they weren't put here for their own wants and needs, but balance it with the desire to share and also to love themselves. A person, until the age of 13, doesn't have that balance. But only when he can reach that place of love, of oneself, of God, and of others. And if there is true love for other people, that when you get to that age of 13, you can say, now I understand that I must now learn my inner self. Because the first love a person needs is for themselves. And with that, he can learn to love others. And when he loves others, if he happens to be fortunate to find somebody that he could share his life with, so you'd have love on both sides. And when you have 13 and 13 is 26, it's a tetragrammaton. It's the highest love that there is. And so therefore, when we stand at the Torah, when Rocco stands at the Torah and he does the blessings, his blessings are also to say, I accept my responsibility, but not for all the codes, but I accept my responsibility to learn to love myself, my God, and the only way that I can prove myself worthy of doing that is by my actions and my responsibility to others, and to see their pain, and to see my way through that knowledge to become the human being that I should be. And Rocco's got a really good foundation for that. So let's hope that this particular Shabbat, with its power and the blessings of the Torah, will give you and those that you love the ability to see you to grow into the beautiful human being I know you will become. Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, friends, well, that was Karen Berg, and very insightful, yes, very insightful. And now we're going to hear from her son, one of her sons, the youngest son, Michael Berg.
Shabbat Shalom. This is a Shabbat that is called by the Kabbalists Shabbat Chazon, which literally means the Shabbat of the vision. And it is one of the few Shabbat of the year that are actually referring to that term, Chazon, refer to the reading from the prophets, which speaks about the vision that Yeshaya, that Isaiah the prophet had. And the Kabbalists teach that it is a unique Shabbat. It is always the Shabbat that comes before Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which is, of course, we know historically has been a time of darkness, but that it is our job through our spiritual work to change that, to transform that into a Yom Tov, into a holiday. And all the light that we need.
Tisha B'Av, by the way, is next week, begins next week, Monday, into Tuesday. The evening of the 12th. Right? Into the 13th. Next week.
All the light that we need to be able to transform the ultimate darkness into light, and all the darkness in our life to light, is given to us on the Shabbat. So clearly then the understandings, the teachings that we can gain from this Shabbat are significant, are important to give us the tools to be able to transform all the darkness in our life to light. The first understanding to have is that everything we're reading now, beginning in this book, is the last few days of the life of Moses. We know that Moses, of course, took the Israelites out of Egypt. He spent 40 years with them in the desert, and now he realizes it's coming time for him to leave this world. And all the important messages, all the important teachings that for whatever reasons, and he had reasons, and the Kabbalists explain the reasons, he did not give over to the Israelites during the 40 years in the desert, he gives over to them now. And one of the most important lessons that Moses teaches, speaks to the Israelites and to us, he says, there was a point in the desert, because if you look at this story of Moses' leadership, certainly he was, if not the greatest, one of the greatest leaders and prophets that has ever been. But at the ultimate purpose of his leadership, which was to bring the Israelites into the land of Israel, to bring an end to pain, suffering, and death once and for all in our world, he did not succeed. Certainly we're still all here, and the world is still full of darkness and pain and suffering. And Moses awakens, teaches, what is it? When was the moment that the failure of his leadership and its ultimate goal, of course, he revealed a tremendous amount of light to the world, but his ultimate ability to assist these people and us, because many of us were there in previous incarnations, to complete that journey did not succeed. What was the moment? What was the moment where he realized that I won't be able to bring these people up to enough of a level to bring an end to pain, suffering, and death? And of course, the reality is that we're all plagued by this same problem. We're all plagued by this same problem. What was that moment? And more importantly, where do we have it in our own lives so that by removing it, we can gain the ability to receive the wisdom and assistance to truly elevate? So Moses says, there was a moment in the desert where I realized that most of you, were not willing to hear from me. Were not willing to be my students. He says, I began to realize that from the moment I woke up in the morning, you would always find something to complain about me. It says, for instance, Higdim Rashi, the great Kabbalist and commentator, writes, if Moses would wake up early and he would walk out of his tent early in the morning, Amru Mara ben Amram latzet. They would all speak amongst themselves. Why did Moses, the son of Amram, wake up, leave his tent so early this morning? Shema eino shafui betoch beito. Maybe he's having trouble in his house. Maybe he's having trouble with his wife. That's why he had to leave his tent early in the morning. Icher latzet. If he would leave his tent later in the morning, Amru Mara ben Amram latzet. Why did Moshe come out late from his tent? Ma'atem svurim, yoshev ve'yoetz alechem atzot raot, v'choshev alechem machshavot. It's only because he spent the whole morning thinking about all kinds of negative thoughts about us, and coming with all kinds of ways to do us harm. So Moses couldn't win. If he woke up, and this is of course just an indication of the view that these Israelites had of him. If he would come out of his tent early in the morning, they had a complaint. They at least, not so much a complaint, but they said the reason he's waking up early, or at least leaving his house early, is because he has trouble in his house. And if he would leave his house late, they would say the reason he's leaving late is because he's sitting home thinking all kinds of negative thoughts about us. So there's no way for Moses to win. And again, this is just an indication of where they were. Whatever he did, good or bad, or early or late, there was always some fault that they found in Moses. And the reality is that throughout history, and as we'll see hopefully in our own lives, whenever there is the opportunity of a leader, of a prophet, to assist the individual in the world, these complaints, these thoughts always get stirred up. There's a very fascinating story told in the Midrash about how Isaiah, Yeshaya, one of the great prophets, became a prophet. Most prophets, by the way, are from a teacher to student. Moses to Joshua, prophet to prophet. Elisha, and Elisha received his prophecy from Eliyahu. So most prophets had a teacher who was a prophet, and they became a prophet. Yeshaya, Isaiah, was different. And this is the story of how Isaiah became a prophet. He tells that one day he was studying, and he was walking around his place of study, and suddenly he hears a voice. It's the supernal voice. It is the voice of the Creator. And the voice says, Et mi eshlach umi yelech lanu. Who can I send? Who will go for me? Who will go to the world and give my message? Who will go to the world and assist people in transforming and changing? So the Creator not only says that, He also explains why it's such a difficult task. And He recounts the story, the Creator does in this voice to Isaiah, recounts the story of two previous prophets. He says, I sent to them a prophet whose name was Micha, and they beat him up. I sent another prophet whose name was Amos, and they found fault in him in that he was a stutterer. As a matter of fact, the name Amos or Amos actually comes from a term which represents heaviness, or amus, that his tongue was heavy, his speech was heavy. So when they heard, the people at that time saw Amos that he was a stutterer, they said, we're not going to listen to him, listen to the way he talks. So the Creator, again, imagine this vision, right? Isaiah's home, in his place of study, and suddenly he hears God's worries. God says, who can I send to this world? Who can I send to people to awaken them so they listen? And he says, I tried Micha, the prophet Micha, they beat him up. I tried the prophet Amos, and they found fault in the way he speaks. And this is true throughout history. This is true throughout history. That whenever there is an individual who has the potential to bring true change to our world, people find fault in that individual. And it's important that we realize why that happens. Because only when we begin to realize why that happens will we have the chance to hear from people who we are meant to hear. And I'd like to share with you a story that happened probably over 20 years ago. But it really left, probably even more than that, maybe 25 years ago. really left an impression on me, and it really speaks to this point. We were in New York at the time, and the Rav, it might have been Rosh Chodesh, but the Rav gave a lecture, and the teachers, the different teachers in the New York Center brought their students to come to be with Rosh Chodesh and to hear the Rav speak. And there was one woman who was excited to come and see the Rav. She was a student of one of the teachers in New York. And she comes to the Rav and she hears the lecture. It's a great lecture. And she asks to get a blessing from the Rav. And of course the Rav says yes. And she comes and her whole family, and she asks that her whole family receive blessings from the Rav. And the Rav gives her and her family blessings. And then she leaves. And later that night, it was either later that night or the next morning, I hear from the teacher of that woman that after she left, she had a complaint. She didn't understand why the Rav was wearing an expensive watch. And I remember hearing that. And I said, you came to a lecture of the Rav, those of us who've had the merit to hear the Rav speak. Certainly, what? It wasn't that expensive. But the point is, she didn't like the Rav was wearing. Moshe remembers the details. So she heard the Rav speak, and somehow she was inspired. And she was so inspired, she wanted to make sure she receives blessings for her and her family. But her singular memory from that evening was a complaint about the Rav. And it's important that we understand why this happens. And this is the workings of history. Moses, Isaiah, Amos, Micha, Jeremiah, for instance, we know that he was beaten up. He was actually put in jail to stop him from prophesying. Eventually he was killed. What is it about humanity? What is it about us? And it can be a teacher or it can be a friend who tells us things that have the potential to truly affect change in our lives. What is it? And the answer is very simple, and we have to understand this spiritual rule. When the ego, the desire to receive for the self alone, begins to sense that there's a potential here that this person will affect true change in the world or in the individual's life, it has to come up with a plan to stop this from happening. And the first plan of attack that the ego has to stop any individual and the collective to hear from a prophet, from a teacher, even from a friend, is to come up with stories, often lies, sometimes half-truths about that person. Because when the Israelites in the desert, their individual Satan and their collective Satan had a big problem. He knew that this person, Moses, if they listened to him, or at least if they listened to him completely, can bring a change to this world, will finish the job of the Satan. The Satan can't let that happen, or at least he's going to fight to not allow that to happen. He starts telling them, let's think of this guy Moses. Let's find what's not right with him. And every morning, again, whether he'd wake up early, it's because he's fighting with his wife. If he came out late, it's because he's sitting home thinking negative things about us. Now, it's important to realize that the Israelites in the desert, they accepted Moses as their leader, and they listened to him. But the ego doesn't care whether we listen or not. He just wants to make sure that there's some doubt in there. That there's some, if it's not 100%, it's 98%, 95% listening. If you're only open 95%, you'll never finish the job. The Satan was successful. Not that they threw Moses out of leadership. They all accepted, and if you asked any of the Israelites in the desert, who's your teacher, who's your guide, who's the prophet, who's the greatest leader of our generation? Of course it's Moses. There's nobody else we want to hear from except Moses. Moses is our teacher. Don't you dare say anything negative about Moses. Only we can. They accepted Moses as their leader, but that's not what was important. Once the Satan was able to put some complaints in their mind about Moses, whatever they accepted was already through a filter. And the change, he affected change. Certainly he affected change. But the ultimate change could not have happened. And every single one of us, Every single one of us has this problem. How many times, it could be a teacher or it could be a friend who says something that is a little bit hard to hear, and suddenly the first thought, think about it, it's the ego's nature. Immediately we say, you're telling me? Oh, what about this and that? I know we're such good friends. I know everything about you, all your problems. You're going to tell me? That is the first line of defense of our ego. Every single one of us, a few times a week, certainly a few times a month, have a true message coming to us. And the Satan is not going to say, don't listen to that message. What it's going to say is, the person who it's coming from, you probably should pay attention to it, but we know this guy, this person. We know, he's got this problem and that. Take it, but with a grain of salt. And that grain of salt ruins everything. Yes, we can change a little bit. Yes, we'll hear a little bit. But the true message we'll never hear. Again, this is what happened with Moses, this is what happened with Isaiah, this is what happened with Amos, this is what happened with Micha, this is what happened with Jeremiah. And this Moses, before he leaves this world, tells the Israelites, look, we together failed. And we failed because you fell to the lies and half-truths of the Satan, of your ego. Make sure, if you want to have a chance to truly bring an end to pain, suffering, and death, and to even truly complete the purpose for which your soul came into this world, stop that. Stop those complaints, those doubts. Again, whether they come from a teacher, whether they come from a friend, I guarantee you no true message that you will ever get, no true message that you will ever get will come from somebody who the Satan is not going to tell you, your ego is not going to tell you there's something wrong with the messenger. If you ever have a teacher or a friend who you have no questions about and no doubts about and no reasons why you shouldn't listen to them, they're not a true teacher. Because if you don't have any questions and doubts about him or her, it simply means that your ego isn't worried. And if your ego isn't worried, there's not going to be any questions. There's not going to be any doubts. There's not going to be any complaints. If you ever have a friend or a teacher or a guide who is telling you, and you accept it completely, and have nothing negative to see within that person, within that messenger, why you shouldn't listen, it simply means that your ego isn't worried. And he's fine for you to love this person and to hear everything they have to say, because he's never or she is never going to help you change. If you ever merit to have a true friend or a true teacher who has the potential to assist you to truly change, to truly accomplish what you came to this world to accomplish, there must be those questions. Because unless you are completely egoless, the ego is going to have to, that is his job, to stop that person from telling you, or at least from listening completely. And this again is one of the important messages that Moses gives out over before he leaves this world. Again, because he's saying, look, we didn't succeed together. And I'm telling you why. It is because, yes, you heard me and I was your teacher and I was your leader and all of that. But there were also this other, and maybe it was just 1% of your consciousness or 2% of your consciousness, but that was enough. Simply that complaint. He's waking up early because he's fighting with his wife. What does that have to do with me? He's going to come and tell me what's wrong with me. The fact that he had a fight with his wife this morning, what terrible thing is that? But what that does, it made it so that none of Moses' messages were ever completely received. And therefore the effect of those messages were never completely received. And therefore, again, just to remember this, if we have any teacher or friend who helps us and we don't have those questions about them, how can they speak to us? It is simply because the ego isn't worried. If you have the chance, the merit to have a true friend or a true teacher in your life, there must be those doubts. Because or else the Satan, the ego, is not doing its job. If it's worried, it comes up with these stories. And what we have to understand then is that if we want to have the ability, the potential to complete our purpose, our soul's purpose in this world, we have to push those aside. Not just say, that's okay, but I'll listen anyway. That's what the Israelites did in the desert. That wasn't enough. It is to say, okay, I know what's going on here. This is my ego, trying to make sure that I don't listen completely, that I listen 90%. And if we don't fall to that, if we hear 100% all the time, then we have the chance, the ability to truly transform, to truly accomplish the purpose for which our soul came to this world. This portion, specifically this first book of, portion of Dvarim, is filled with literally an endless amount of teachings. You can imagine, before Moses leaves this world, the amount of lessons that he gives over and secrets that he gives over. But one of them, he tells the Israelites something which on its face, if you just read it literally, is pretty interesting. He gives them a geography lesson. He says that Moses tells the Israelites, 11 yom mechorev derech har seir ad Kadesh Barnea. Those of you who know the map of the Sinai Peninsula, he tells them from Chorev, which is towards the south, to Kadesh Barnea, which is in the north. He tells them if you travel a straight line from Chorev to Kadesh Barnea, and you travel the shortest route, which is through Mount Seir, if you take the most direct route from Chorev to Kadesh Barnea, that'll take you 11 days of travel. That's what he tells them. 11 yom mechorev derech har seir ad Kadesh Barnea. He tells them, he's giving them maybe a travel tip. If you're ever in Chorev and you want to plan your trip to Kadesh Barnea, you should take the most direct route, which is through Mount Seir. It'll take you 11 days. What's the purpose of this geography lesson? As a matter of fact, we know the Israelites never traveled that route. As a matter of fact, the route that they took was a more circular route, going east and then north. So why did Moses give the Israelites this geography lesson, letting them know that if you travel from Chorev to Kadesh Barnea, it'll take you 11 days if you travel the short route, which is through Mount Seir. So the Kabbalist, the Sforno, says, all the years, we know the Israelites, when they were in the desert, they left Egypt and they traveled for 40 years up until they came to the other side of the Jordan River, which of course is, even if you take your time, should never take you 40 years to get there. What happened is that in the desert, they would sometimes travel forward, sometimes they would travel backwards, sometimes they would travel to the sides. And Moses here teaches them a lesson about their travel, but there's a lesson, of course, for every single one of us in our lives. When the Israelites first were in the beginning of their travels, they were in Chorev, that place, and the Creator again took them the circular route from Chorev to Kadesh Barnea, and it took them 3 days. It took them 3 days to take the circular route from Chorev to Kadesh Barnea. It took them 3 days. Moses tells them, I want you to know the miracle that occurred to us all that time ago. Because you know that if you start off in Chorev and you take the most direct route and to Kadesh Barnea, which is through Mount Seir, it will take you at the fastest 11 days. Us, it took 3 days. Unfortunately, afterwards, their travels took even longer. Things that should have taken 1 day took a year. Things that should have taken a week took 10 years. Moses was giving the Israelites and us an understanding about time. And it's important, this is, I think for many of us, maybe a new view into the times and the time really of our life. Every single one of us has a map. There is a supernal map of where our lives are meant to go, where we're meant to begin and where we're meant to end. And every single one of us, and it's important that we understand this, because although there is the assistance of process of reincarnation, none of us has to ever come back again. None of us has to not complete our journey in this one lifetime, wherever any one of us are. If you go from even where you are today, certainly from where you were born, and you take a direct route, you will accomplish your complete correction, tikkun, and therefore achieving the level of removal of pain and suffering and death, at least from your personal soul, from your individual life, in this lifetime. But time we know, as the Rav would often speak, is the energy that is also given to the negative side, because in the spiritual realm there is no time. But we can control time or fall under the control of time. A person, any one of us, is at a certain point in our spiritual journey, in our soul's journey. And let's assume today or tomorrow, and we all do, big or small, have tests. Are we going to react in a negative way? Are we going to fall? Now what happens? What happens when you fall, when a person falls? He expands time. Imagine you're driving from point A to point B and you make a mistake on the road. Eventually you'll get there, especially if you have a good GPS in your car, but we've all heard, when you can make a legal U-turn. And you'll eventually get there, but it'll take you maybe 20 minutes longer or maybe 30 minutes longer, depending on how bad you veered off the path. So, assuming an individual on Sunday has a choice, a big test or a small test, and he falls. Now he has to correct that fall. Now, the time that he uses to correct that fall won't be able to assist him in his ultimate journey. So he has now opened up a window in time. It might take him a day or a week or a month. But that expanded time, that wrong turn, now eats up from the time that he needs to get there. Assuming you have a meeting at 10 o'clock and you leave your house at 9 and it takes you exactly an hour to get to the meeting, and you make the wrong turns and it takes you an additional half an hour, you're going to miss the meeting. You get there at 10:30, 10:45, the meeting's over. When a person falls, when a person makes that mistake and he expands time, now the next week or the next month is fixing that mistake that he made. It eats away at the time that he was meant to use to go straight. And what that means is that if a person has 80 years or 100 years or 120 years to reach his ultimate goal, he now has less than that. Now it's also true that we can take away time. And this is really what Moses was teaching the Israelites. It took them a journey of 11 days, took 3 days. Every time you have a great test, every time you have the awakening to fall, to react in a negative way, and you stop yourself, you now take away time. Something that should have taken you a week, will take you a day. Something that could have taken you a month, will take you a week. So, although we said when a person comes into this world, when every single one of us comes into this world, we have a root. How long that takes, whether time is expanded or retracted in that process, is up to us. Every single time, and it's important that we have this clarity, every single time we fall, and maybe it's more important to view it in this way. Today or tomorrow, every single one of us will have an opportunity to become angry, to become disappointed, to lash out, to act in selfish ways, to act in ways of desire to receive for the self alone. Now, those of us who are spiritual to one degree or another, we try to stop ourselves by saying, don't do that, because for every negative action there's a reaction. There's something negative that's going chas v'shalom that can come into your life if you act with anger towards another person, if you act in negative ways towards another person. But now we understand a deeper way, a more important way to view that. If I lash out in anger towards that person, I'm opening up a new door in time. Meaning, what I could have accomplished tomorrow, I might not ever be able to get to it only in a month or in a year. So imagine, the best vision I could think of is like an accordion. Imagine on Sunday, a person has a test. Will he react in a negative way? Now on Monday, when time is closed, he has a great blessing that is about ready to come into his life. But if on Sunday he reacts in a negative way, he acts in a selfish way, in a way of desire to receive for himself alone, he then opens up the accordion. And that accordion might be a week, or a month, or a year. And he's going to have to travel through that window in time until he catches up to that blessing that was meant to come to him on Monday, and he might not reach it until next year. Now, of course, it's also true that if there's a blessing that is meant to come into a person's life in a year or in a month, and then on that Sunday, he has the opportunity to react and he restricts, or he has the opportunity to act in a way of completely selfless giving, he retracts that time. And that blessing that was going to come to him in a month or in a year can come to him in a week or in a day. Every single one of us, in great ways and small ways, retract or expand time. Expanding time is not good. It eats up away from the time that we are meant to use to truly accomplish what we came to this world to accomplish. But more importantly, it pushes in distance the blessings that are meant to come into our lives. If we can imagine that when the Israelites left the desert, their accordion was this size. They were supposed to leave Egypt, let's say, in the beginning of the year and arrive into the land of Israel at the end of that year. And arriving in the land of Israel does not simply represent the physical place. It represents the ultimate journey of humanity, an end to pain, suffering, and death. But then they fell, and they fell, and they fell, and they fell. So that even in 40 years, they couldn't accomplish what they could have accomplished in at most 1 year. And worse, in that entire lifetime, they never accomplished what they could have accomplished in 1 year. Because in every action, in every decision, in every choice that we make, we expand or retract time. And therefore, Moses tells the Israelites, it's not, we asked why a geography lesson, because he wanted to let them know, look, things that should take 11 days in the shortest route can take 3 days in the longest route. And things that can take a year can be not even accomplished in 40 years if you keep expanding that time. And therefore the second lesson that Moses gives the Israelites and he gives us is this understanding. Every single one of us has two important understandings. One, that in order to accomplish the ultimate purpose of the journey of our soul in this world, we can't keep expanding that time. Because if we keep expanding that time and taking those detours, we won't be able to accomplish what we came to this world to accomplish. But more importantly also is all those blessings that are at some point in the journey, we can, if we act in selfish and negative ways, we can push it forward in time. Or, and this is of course the more important lesson, if we push against our ego, if you push against those reactions, if we push against our anger, if we push against our disappointment, if we push against our desire to receive for the self alone, we keep contracting time, less and less and less. The Rav would often say that really the purpose of what's called the Gemara Tikkun, the end of the correction, is that time no longer exists. Can you imagine if a person over 100 years is meant to have 1,000 great blessings, but they are interspersed over 100 years? And if he's able to retract all that time and have them all in 1 second, that's what we are meant to accomplish, and that's what we can accomplish. Because every single decision we make, negative or positive, restriction or reaction, anger or restricting that anger, selfishness or the removal of that desire to receive for the self alone, expands or retracts time. And that's why the Kabbalists teach that there are some people who can accomplish everything in 1 moment. If you are able to completely retract time by consistently pushing against your desire to receive for the self alone, your reaction, then everything can happen to you like that. And even chas v'shalom, if a person is in a negative process, right? There are some people who, you can have 5 people in beginning chas v'shalom the same negative process, whether it's in business or in health. And some people can finish that process in a year, and some people can finish that process in 2 years, and some people chas v'shalom never finish that process. Why is that? Why is that even the same situation for different people takes different amounts of times? Because we, through our actions, both negative and positive, retract or expand time. And therefore, one of the important levels of consciousness for us to gain on this Shabbat is next time again, whether we are asking ourselves if I should push myself to do this action of desire to share, or I'm standing in front of a decision, should I act in a way of desire to receive for the self alone, say, I know what's going to happen. If I act now in this selfish manner, in this action of desire to receive for the self alone, then I'm going to expand time. And who knows what blessings are about to come but won't be able to come. Who knows what wasteful time I'm going to spend now, a month or a year or years. Every single one of us, through every action and decision that we make, expands or retracts time. And we have the power, the ability to retract time so much so that all the blessings come right away, so that all the ultimate completion of the journey of our soul occurs at least in this lifetime. A very important both understanding and hopefully that we can use it in our decision-making process in our lives. A third lesson that Moses gives the Israelites in the desert, as he's about to leave this world. He says to them, Eicha esa levadi, tarchachem masayechem berivchem. He says, I came to realize that I will not be able to ultimately lead you to the completion of your journey, to the removal of pain and suffering and death from our world. That the Creator has told me, Moses, your time is up, your leadership is over, it's time for you to give over the reins to Yeshua, to Joshua. Now the Kabbalists ask, because here again Moses is not relating his own personal thoughts, but he's actually saying that the Creator told me that I can't do this anymore, that I don't have the ability now to lead you further. And the Kabbalists ask, Rashi, the great commentator and Kabbalist, asks, how is it possible that Moses, who took the Israelites out of Egypt, who created the great miracle of the splitting of the sea, who created miracles throughout the desert, how is it possible that the Creator lets him know that he doesn't have the ability, the power, to continue to lead the Israelites? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. What happened? What happened that at this moment in time the Creator says to Moses, you don't have it anymore. You can't do it anymore. And to answer that question, because the answer to this question is also to the answer to the question to why, and you hear this unfortunately too often, people say, I'm trying, I do everything that I can, or I'm doing what I want, and I'm making the connections and the light doesn't seem to be coming into my life. So again, at one moment, Moses tells the Israelites, the Creator wanted to let me tell you that I can't do it anymore. I'm going to make Joshua first in command. There are going to be other teachers that are going to be here that will be able to teach you and to lead you. And we asked, how can it be that Moses, who was able to accomplish all these miracles in the desert, suddenly can't do it anymore? And the answer the Kabbalists give is a very, very, very important lesson. The Kabbalists teach that when Moses recounts this, when he comes to the Israelites and he gives them the message, and he says, listen guys, the Creator wants me to tell you, I can't be your teacher anymore. There will be other teachers, there will be Joshua, and he'll lead you into the land of Israel. What was the reaction of the Israelites? V'ta'anu oti v'tomru, you answer and you say, Tov hadavar asher dibarta la'asot. That's a good plan. That's a good plan, Moses. You can't do it anymore. Give it to Joshua, give it to some of the teachers. They'll take care of it. They'll lead us further. And again, Rashi says, Haya lachem lehashiv, what you should have said. Rabbeinu Moshe, our teacher Moses, Mimi na'el lilmod, we don't want to study from anybody except you. Mimcha u'mitalmidcha, you think we want to study from Joshua? You think we want to study from your students? We want to study only from you. Lo mimcha shenitzta'arta alea, we only want to study from you. And Moses here tells the Israelites, if you would have said that, more importantly, if you would have felt that, I would never have had to leave you. When I came to you, because what happens is, and this is a lesson that Rav Ashlag teaches, he says, if you're walking down the street and a poor man comes to you and he says, can I have $1 or $5 for food, you're very likely to put your hand in your pocket and give him the money. But can you imagine if you're walking down the street and a poor man comes up to you and he stops and says, I need your help. I want to buy a Ferrari and I need another $100,000. Can you start me off? Give me maybe $10,000, $20,000. Of course, nobody is going to give the homeless guy, any money, even $1, towards his Ferrari. Why? Because we don't give poor people extravagance. We give them necessities. And Rav Ashlag teaches that the Creator never gives us extravagance. He gives us necessities. Meaning, if a person comes to the Creator and he says, I can't live without this light. I cannot go on without this revelation. I cannot go on without this connection. He will have the revelation. He will have the connection. He will have all of that light. But if a person comes to the Creator, as unfortunately, again, think about this, we all do, this is nice. I'd like some light. I'd like some blessings. Let me do this and receive some light and blessings in my life. Everything, I have all kinds of other things going on. This will be a nice addition to my collection. The Creator, Chas v'Shalom, that's not the Creator. The spiritual system does not work that way. That individual, and all of us to one degree or another, will never be able to receive that light and those blessings. Because the light of the Creator only comes into a place of necessity. The light of the Creator only comes into a place of necessity. So the Creator comes to Moses and he says, there's a problem here. I want you to continue to shine your light and your wisdom and your guidance to these people. But they think that you're there to help them. They don't feel the need for you. It's nice to have them. Who wouldn't want Moses as their teacher? Who wouldn't want Moses as their guide? But Moses, you can't help them. You can't give them any light if they don't understand that they must have you, that they can't live without your guidance, that they can't live without your wisdom. Moses, we have to find out. Because going on this course, there's no point for you to stay on anymore. Because you can't do it for them. You can't give them the light that you have in your potential to give them. You can't give them the guidance that you have in your potential to give them if their desire for that isn't something that they cannot live without. Moses, let's see. Let's see where they're at. Let's see if they understand that it's a necessity to have you as their teacher, as their leader. Go to them and tell them this other plan. Tell them that I, the Creator, have told you to tell them, look, we have a plan B. And plan B is Joshua and other teachers. Now, if the Israelites would have said, we can't have anybody else. We can't have Joshua. We can't have the other teachers. We must have. It is a necessity for us to have you as our teacher. You'll stay there with them forever. And you will bring them ultimately to the place of the end of pain, suffering, and death. But Moses, where are they at? Yeah, they like you to hang out. They'd like you to remain a leader and a teacher and a guide. But it's not a necessity. It's a nice thing. And if their consciousness, if their understanding of the gifts that you can give them, that they are not necessities, you can't give it to them. You can't give it to them. It is a spiritual rule that the light never comes into a place unless it is a necessity. And this again is one of the great teachings of Rav Ashlag. And this is an answer to so many of us so often where we don't understand why I'm doing these connections. Why isn't the blessing coming? Is the blessing a necessity for you? Can you not live without it? If that is true, it will come. The light, just as when the rule is the light never comes into a place that is not a necessity, it also always comes in immediately to a place that is a necessity. And the reason, understand this, every single one of us has literally an unbelievable amount of blessings and guidance and clarity that is ready to come into our lives right now. But it can't. Because we do not feel the necessity, the true, I cannot live without that light, that blessing. And the light of the Creator comes in only to a place, and it comes in immediately, but to a place of necessity. And Moses again here telling the Israelites, but telling us, when you came to the understanding that your spiritual connection is a good thing to have, I want it, it's nice, the light leaves. The light can only stay and come in to a place, to a person who knows that I cannot live without this light. I cannot live without this connection. And therefore, every single one of us on this Shabbat, it is called, as we said, Shabbat Chazon, the Shabbat of the vision. And the Kabbalists teach that on this Shabbat, today, every single one of us has the ability to see, not necessarily with our eyes, but with our soul, the perfection of ourselves, of our soul, and the perfection of the world. On this Shabbat is given to every individual who asks for it, the vision of our complete self, our perfected self, where we will be, where we complete our tikkun, and also a vision of the perfected world, where the world will be, in the world without pain and suffering and death. What is the purpose of that vision? So first we have to understand that it's available. We have to ask for it. We have to feel it. We have to receive it. But why is it important if we're not there yet to see it? Because hopefully, if we see the vision of where we can be, if we see, again, not with our eyes but with our soul, where the world can be, we'll desire it, but desire it not from a place of want, from a place of need, of necessity. We don't just want to be that perfected self. We don't just want the world and think about this. How many of us are stuck in this? We don't use the words, maybe it'll be nice, but yeah, I want that. That'd be good. You can't receive the light from that place. The light of the Creator only comes into a place of necessity. And every single one of us has an endless amount of blessings that are ready and waiting and unable to come into our lives at this moment, but they're there. When we come to a place of necessity, I cannot go on without this light. I cannot go on without that blessing. We receive it immediately. So on this Shabbat, when to every single one of us, if we ask for it and we merit it, we are going to receive a vision, a connection to our perfected self. We are going to receive a vision, a connection to the perfected world. The purpose of that vision, the purpose of that awakening, of that connection, is so that we come to a point where we beg for it, where we come to the Creator, to light, and we say, we have to have that light. We have to have that connection. And if enough of us make that individual connection, make the collective connection, we bring ourselves on this Shabbat, the most powerful Shabbat of this vision, and bring ourselves and the world one step closer to the removal of darkness, to removal of death, to Bila Mavet Lanetzach. Shabbat Shalom.
Alright, so there we have it, friends. And that was Michael Berg with his lecture on this week's coming portion of Devarim, right, which is the 5th book of Moses, Deuteronomy. And as he mentioned, that the light of the Creator only comes to people who are desperate. Yeah, right? Desperate. Because if you're okay with where you are, then guess what? There's no need for the creative force to come and inject itself where you are. Because really and truly, it's your desire, strong desire, that draws it. Alright? So, if you are in a place where you're comfortable with your life and you don't want anything more, then you're not going to receive anything more. But, let's say that you are, you're at a particular place in your life, but you want more. There's nothing wrong with wanting more. Okay? There's nothing wrong with wanting more, providing that you don't want it just for yourself alone. Kabbalists teach that we have a nature that is described as the desire to receive for the self alone. Our challenge in this life is to convert that to a desire to receive for the sake of sharing. Okay? So there's nothing wrong with wanting more. Get as much as you can, friend, so that you can share it with others. And as I mentioned, that if you're interested, again, this is one of the things I recommend, that on a weekly basis, you start listening to the Torah readings on Saturday. It might be a stretch or a little effort to align your life, to free up yourself so that you can listen between 11 and 12:30 p.m. Eastern, so that's 10 till say 11:30 p.m. a.m. in Jamaica. All right. It would be 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. in Jamaica. And start listening to the Torah, because that's where the power is, my friends. That's where the power and the magic is. So again, let me give you my phone number. All right, country code +1 516 965 5700. Again, country code +1 516 965 5700. Don't forget, we have a website. It's Kabbalah #4 Jamaicans. That's KABBALAH, the number 4, and Jamaicans. JAMAICANS.com. All right. Yeah, send a text. Let me know that you're interested in starting to listen to the Torah reading or the Zohar readings, and we'll send you the link. But yeah, these are the things that you'll be learning, my friends. These are the things that we'll be learning. So I pray that it was good for you and that you continue listening. This has been Diaspora Connection featuring Kabbalah for Jamaicans, and once again, my name is Joshua. Have a blessed evening. Remember that next week, let's say the Tuesday, Monday into Tuesday is the 9th of Av, the most negative day of the year. So be careful, friends. Okay. Oh, here are some of the restrictions between now and next week. Don't put yourself at unnecessary risk. Okay. Don't sign any new contracts. Don't get married. Don't buy a house. If your closing is scheduled for between now and next week, wait until after Tuesday, if you can. All right. And be careful of drinking wine during this time, because wine, too much wine awakens the evil inclination within us, and you don't want that during this time. The power is already strong, so you don't want to give it any more strength, right? So yeah, friends, so that's what it's all about. And until next time, yes, until next time, we'll be sharing more and more wisdom, right? Again, this coming Saturday we're starting the book of Deuteronomy, and there'll be a lot to share next week, yeah, pertaining to this wisdom. All right, so have a wonderful week. Walk good, stay good, be safe. And also, if you would like a Zohar, your own personal Zohar, send a text and we'll get you one, no matter where you are in the world. All right, have a good night. Bye bye.